Napoleon Bonaparte is standing in the middle of a burning Egyptian desert. He just watched the British Royal Navy sink his entire fleet at the Battle of the Nile. He is stranded. His soldiers are dying of the plague. He is effectively a prisoner in a land he failed to conquer. This is a total disaster. Back in Paris, the people are reading something completely different. Napoleon is sending home dispatches describing glorious victories and exotic treasures. He is framing a massive military failure as a divine crusade. He isn't just winning battles, he is winning the narrative. By the time he abandons his army and sneaks back to France, the public treats him like a savior. He lied his way into a throne. Most people think history is made by the strongest sword. It isn't. It is made by the best liar. Napoleon understood that people don't follow facts, they follow legends. He created his own personal press corps to follow him into battle. They weren't there to record history, they were there to manufacture it. He censored every newspaper that didn't worship him. He controlled the paintings. He controlled the theater. He made sure every French citizen saw him as an invincible hero. The manipulation worked so well that even after he lost everything and died in exile, his legend survived. We still call him a genius. We forget he was a master of the fake-it-till-you-make-it strategy. His biggest lie was himself. The cost of this legend was millions of lives. Napoleon's propaganda machine convinced an entire generation of French men that dying for his ego was the highest honor. He turned the press into a weapon of war. He didn't just defeat armies, he defeated reality. The danger of a leader who can rewrite their own defeats is that they never learn from them. Napoleon kept doubling down on his own hype until he hit the Russian winter. The lie finally caught up to the man. Julius Caesar took a different approach. He didn't just lie about his victories, he lied about his intentions. Rome was a republic. It hated kings. Caesar knew he couldn't just seize power. He had to be invited to take it. He styled himself as the champion of the common man. He threw massive parties. He gave away free grain. He paid for it all with the gold he stole from Gaul. He made the Roman elite look like out-of-touch snobs while he was the man of the people. It was a classic populist trap. He used the love of the masses to dismantle the laws that protected them. The Roman Senate saw right through him. They knew he was a tyrant in a cheap toga. It didn't matter. Caesar had the street on his side. He knew that if you make the people feel heard, they will let you take away their voice. He crossed the Rubicon not as an invader, but as a protector. He didn't destroy the Republic with a coup. He destroyed it by making himself the only person who could fix it. He was the first modern politician to realize that if you control the lower class, the upper class has nowhere to hide. The populist hero eventually gets too big for the room. Caesar's manipulation was so effective that he forgot he was dealing with desperate men. He thought he had outplayed the system. He ended up getting stabbed 23 times on the Senate floor. He won the crowd but lost the room. His death didn't save the Republic. It just proved his point. The people loved him so much they burned the city down after his funeral. He manipulated Rome even from the grave. Qin Shi Huang took manipulation to a much darker level. He didn't care about being loved. He cared about being the only thing that existed. He was the first emperor of China. He inherited a world of different cultures, languages, and philosophies. He decided to delete them. He didn't just want to rule the present, he wanted to own the past. He ordered the burning of books and burying of scholars. If a book didn't serve his legalist agenda, it went into the fire. If a scholar disagreed with him, they went into a pit. This wasn't just a temper tantrum. It was a calculated psychological operation. By destroying history, he made himself the beginning of time. He standardized the writing system and the currency so that every transaction in China had his fingerprints on it. He created a system of collective responsibility where families were forced to spy on each other. If one person broke a law, the whole village was punished. He manipulated an entire civilization into a state of permanent paranoia. He turned human beings into cogs in a giant, legalist machine. The emperor wanted to live forever. He spent his final years obsessed with finding an elixir of immortality. He drank mercury because his doctors told him it would make him a god. The man who tried to control the future ended up poisoning his own brain. He died alone on a tour of his empire. His advisors were so scared of the fallout that they hid his death for weeks. They surrounded his carriage with rotting fish to mask the smell of his decomposing body. The man who tried to delete history became a cautionary tale about the limits of absolute control. Niccolò Machiavelli never wore a crown. He was a mid-level bureaucrat who got kicked out of his job. He wrote a book called The Prince as a job application to the Medici family. He didn't invent manipulation, he just gave it a manual. He told leaders that being good was a liability. He argued that if you have to choose, it is better to be feared than loved. Love is fickle, fear is reliable. This wasn't just edgy philosophy, it was a cold-blooded analysis of human nature. He saw people as ungrateful, fickle, and greedy. Machiavelli's manipulation was intellectual. He gave leaders permission to be monsters as long as they were effective monsters. He pioneered the idea that the ends justify the means. He taught the powerful how to use religion, morality, and justice as masks for raw ambition. He turned politics into a game of chess where the pieces are human lives. His book became the handbook for every dictator, CEO, and cult leader for the next 500 years. He didn't just describe the shadow, he invited the world to live in it. The irony is that the Medicis never hired him. The man who wrote the ultimate guide to power died broke and powerless. He was too honest about how dishonest leaders are. He pulled back the curtain on the game, and the players hated him for it. He manipulated the future of political thought but couldn't manage his own career. He proved that understanding power and holding power are two very different things. His ghost still haunts every boardroom and parliament on earth. Rasputin was the ultimate outsider manipulator. He was a peasant from Siberia who smelled like a goat. Within years, he was the most powerful man in the Russian Empire. He didn't use armies or books. He used a child's blood. The heir to the Russian throne, Alexei, had hemophilia. A small bruise could kill him. The doctors were useless. Rasputin showed up and seemed to stop the bleeding through prayer. The Tsarina, Alexandra, became convinced he was a literal saint. He used that desperation to infiltrate the highest levels of government. He wasn't just a healer, he was a puppet master. He started firing ministers and appointing his own cronies. He turned the royal family against their own people. He knew that as long as the boy's life was in his hands, the empire was in his pocket. He manipulated the most powerful woman in Russia by weaponizing her motherly instinct. He turned a medical crisis into a political takeover. The nobility eventually realized Rasputin was driving the country off a cliff. They tried to kill him. It turned into a horror movie. They poisoned him with cyanide. He didn't die. They shot him in the chest. He got back up and tried to strangle them. They shot him again, beat him, and threw him into a frozen river. When his body was found, there was ice under his fingernails. He had tried to claw his way out. His death didn't save the Romanovs. It was too late. His manipulation had already rotted the foundation of the monarchy. The Russian Revolution started months later. Every one of these leaders shared a single trait. They saw people as something to be managed, not led. They found the cheat codes of the human psyche. Napoleon used our love of glory. Caesar used our need for a hero. Qin used our fear of chaos. Machiavelli used our cynicism. Rasputin used our hope for miracles. They all won in the short term. They all ended up consumed by the very systems they built. Manipulation is a debt that always comes due. The more you control the world, the more the world waits for you to fail. Machiavelli's true genius was his lack of ego. He didn't need to be the one on the throne to control the world. He just needed to be the voice in the ear. He understood that power is a fluid, and he provided the container. He taught us that the mask is more important than the face. A leader must appear religious, even if they are an atheist. They must appear merciful, even while they are ordering an execution. He stripped the soul out of leadership and replaced it with a flowchart. He turned the art of ruling into a cold science of survival. We call people Machiavellian as an insult, but every modern government is built on his blueprints. He realized that the world isn't moved by morality, but by the perception of it. He was the first to realize that in the game of power, the most dangerous person is the one who isn't playing for the fans. He fed their delusions until the delusions became a death sentence. He was the parasite that finally killed the host, proving that the most effective way to destroy an empire is to start from the heart and work your way out.